Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the May 2024 meeting of EGPOA Board of Directors and Patrick Miller, President of the Board. We're going to kick off our meeting. We'll first do the pledge, but we're going to kick off our meeting with an update from the Town of Thompson Supervisor, Bill Reaver, who's graciously joined us and given up some of this Sunday morning for us to give an update on the town and answer questions that people may have. So with that, let's start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
One nation.
Okay. Okay, Supervisor Reaver. Bill, do you want to take a seat over here?
Just the owls right in front of you. Just
Yeah, right
owl.
there. Right here. Yeah.
I can't see. And the allergies are killing me.
Good morning.
Okay, so where we are, I mean, budget wise, the town's in great shape. Just got our Moody's rating, it's just gonna be important for all the work we're gonna be doing for the next couple of years. So AA2 rating, which is maintains, it's a good rating for bonding. The big talk and a big expense are two things. One is the LED light system. We upgraded the entire development and the entire town, so every light in the town's replaced or almost replaced. We're down to taking care of the screaming people who, for problems that we couldn't fix easily. Digging up hundreds of feet of line and replacing it because connections are bad and such and such. So that's really coming down to the wire that should be done. I'm hoping in a couple of months, but don't anybody hold me to it. It's a state-run project and it's been miserable at the end result. As far as district costs, we did pull the trigger and replaced all the old wooden poles, which were the considerable number of them in the town that were all put in between 1972 and 74. Found a lot of them were rotten off at the base, so we pulled the trigger and just replaced them all, and that was delayed the project a little bit, but hopefully we'll get 50 years out of the new composite poles. We'll all be dead and gone by the time they're out, I hope. But well, either way. So that's it. That should be coming soon. If anybody's asking, we're on top of every single outage, and people can call the town hall if you want and report an outage. Right now the system, once it's up and running, will advise us if the light is out automatically. And down the road, it allows us to dim it later on in the, through the evening and save money. And that's it. The other thing is the sewer work. We've got a project going to upgrade the sewer plant itself, which is approaching $14 million now. Be a lot cheaper. We'll get through our approval process pretty faster, but we're going to work it out. The other thing that really won't impact the neighborhoods and as far as, construction work, what will impact the neighborhoods is the east side of Emerald Green and all of Lake Louise Marie right up to Crescent Circle and to the sewer plant. That's all being redone. It's called the Pump Station 1, 2, and 3 project. That's a $3.3 million project, which originally was going to be 2.2. So, I was getting yelled at by the state. Reminded them that we've been waiting 2 years for the approvals on the simplest things, so just so we can get from one stage. So we're done. The good news there is that we pulled out a lot of grant money. On the 1, 2, and 3 project, pulled out 1.4 million in grants from the environmental facilities. Got a WIA grant, which is the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act grant of $805,000, and an engineering grant of $60,000. So $2.3 million in grants out of a $3.3 million project, so about $1 million left to pay there, which the district pays. The treatment facility, that was a $14 million project. A WIA grant, we got a water quality improvement grant, those total about $3.8 million. I've got a bipartisan infrastructure grant from the feds, which we were really lucky to get in under the deadline. It's just a letter application. And I got it in overnight and picked up $6.9 million toward that.
Nice.
This point out. put it all together, we're gonna be financing about 4.2 million, 4.3 million. And I think we're allocated about 5.3 million for hardship financing, which is predominantly 0% interest financing. So, you know, I think the debt service impact on the district could probably be in 150,000 a year range. About 150. The numbers aren't, they're fluid numbers, okay, but you know, let's say $150 a house, about 10 or 12,000. So that's where we are there. I'll open up for questions if anybody wants to throw, you know, I'm good,
Yeah, let's do that.
whatever you want to hit, I hit the big numbers.
Why don't we go for questions in the room, and then folks online, if you do have questions for Supervisor Reaver, you can use the raise hand feature. And let us know. Anybody in the room?
How much did you say would be per household approximately?
These are my numbers last night, you know, back of the paper.
Yeah.
$150 a household roughly.
Okay.
And that's really rough. I mean, it's seriously just me sitting on a piece of paper to
Right.
that check. Because these aren't, we're not final.
So all the sewer company work will be done at the plant that's over here? The plant that's right over here, is that where we're doing the work, or is there another plant?
The sewer plant here. Yeah, that's that's a lot.
Sure it does.
A lot of this is driven by the feds in the state, you know, because of disinfection. We use chlorine to disinfect, right now we're under filtration and UV disinfection. Drive a lot of stuff. Oh, yeah, we're doing about 65 to $70 million.
How do you figure future growth? As far as like what the needs will be and.
Well, this was originally a 410,000 gallon a day plant. I think we're going to 475. You know, a lot of work. I think we're comfortable handling any.
It's also tightening up the collection system. Over the years, you've been tightening that up, the stuff infiltration and inflow and stuff that comes into collection. We've talked for years about this, but there's a lot of stuff in the collection system, and after the pump stations and stuff come in, there's been a lot of stuff coming in that shouldn't. And by stopping that, I mean, I know the other big issue is sump pumps.
Some pumps are a problem.
Gonna have to be dealt with somehow. There's quite a few houses that pump a lot from some pump in their house. A problem in many towns, but there's a problem here. I talked to Mike about it. But the other Mike, yeah, about it. And so it's something we're gonna have to try to work on to help reduce the flow during high water times and heavy rains. To try to eliminate that going into those wastewater things.
That's really it in a nutshell. That's why we did the project over here for the big pump station right in this yard. And took a lot of inflow out of the system. We sliplined a lot of pipes going up toward Avon, Manchester. You know, essentially coat the inside pipe with a or something.
It's plastic.
Plastic.
Yeah.
And it just sealed in place and then sealed.
It fully adheres to the existing pipe. A lot of these pipes are old transite or clay or whatever, and it creates a structural piece, but it's fully glued, so there's no interstitial space between the old and new for water to slip in and find another way in to do that. Is that second working on part of that collection stuff when we do the pump stations?
1, 2, and 3, front, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Plus doing a force main and redoing Crescent Circle, Crescent View.
Yeah,
Take all the flow out of that. Which periodically goes into the lake if it overflows, and there's no way to stop.
yeah, we've discussed that over the years.
And so that should cure it. Absolutely, because we're taking 90% of it. All of the flow from the eastern side of Hammer Green and all of Lake Louise Marie goes through a tiny little pump station in Crescent Circle. Just can't handle it. So that's that. We're gonna reroute it.
The glamour of the job, huh?
I kind of, yeah.
Any questions online? I'm not seeing any, so anybody else have? Cool. Right. Thanks for your time. Appreciate the update. Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Just a bunch of printouts. I'll leave it in case somebody wants to put through
Okay.
my charts and whatever.
Thank you.
Overall budget work.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, now we're gonna begin the business portion of our board meeting. So we'll start and ask Secretary to call the roll, please.
Here, everybody's done a lot of work.
Here.
Yes.
Here.
Here.
Plus,
Yeah,
Joel, here, Beverly,
here.
Alex, here, Zach, here, thank you.
Okay, my- First order of business is approval of the minutes from the April 21st, 2024 meeting. Board members, that's tab one of your board book. Anybody have any questions? If not,
Yeah, no, the people that were absent, it doesn't say that they were absent, it's just blank. I would like that to be added to the records that they were absent. There were 4 people absent.
are you making a motion to amend? Is
Yes, please.
there a second?
Yeah, second.
All in favor of adding the words absent for the 4 spaces where folks were not present? Aye. Any opposed? Any recused, any abstentions? Sounds like it passes. Okay. With that amendment, are there any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. On to our management report. Mr. Boyd.
Good morning. The pool. We did have a discussion through email about opening earlier this year. We will be able to open earlier. We got the pool uncovered 2 weeks ago. Was not as bad as anticipated. And also surprisingly, there was no ice in here. So we were able to get things going a little bit earlier. With your guys' blessing, we could open June 1st.
So, and just for the board members, I did ask Michael to look into that and come to us to make a recommendation that we could then adopt. And he's landed on June 1st. I one question I had was if we know the weekly cost to keep it heated.
It's about $1,800. However, around that time, we would be starting anyway. June 1st, it's not gonna be up to, the summer temperature. We're gonna, it's gonna climb. It takes about a week and a half. Whether it's Father's Day or Father's Day weekend, it's gonna cost about the same.
So 1,800 for heating, but there's also additional staffing costs that go opening the pools.
Don't have to have, we'll have the staff there on the weekend, there is additional staffing cost. But staff won't be there all week until. Probably later in the year, it's usually the weekend before. Weekend before, 4th of July. So we're gonna probably stay right on the same schedule, almost like we do in September, end of August, it'll be at your own.
How would that affect our security budget? Our contract with them provides, my recollection, our contract with them doesn't up the hours that we pay for.
Well, they're supposed to be starting this weekend,
Yeah, it starts.
the 16th.
Yeah,
So they should have already been there. I gotta talk to you about that too. So they're already, because they're usually there for Memorial Day weekend on.
The only extra cost.
That's really not an extra cost either, because that's the time we would start heating the pool to be ready for 4th of July. So we really didn't change too much. It's still there.
Right. And we do keep the pool locked during the week and then just weekends, or be open.
We're gonna be able to open. Just like you have our staff is, Jenna's usually over there after Memorial Day weekend anyway, so, we'll have full office staff there that we usually have, but there won't be any attendance there. our maintenance personnel will take care of that, until there's people there daily.
When do you start cleaning the people clean down, like the sense?
I just,
No,
go to like usually about.
I'm saying they don't you outsource it to someone else?
We haven't outsourced the pool and probably.
No, the cleaning, what the bathrooms, that's all.
That's all clean now. That's all clean then.
Any other questions for Michael on this? All right. Could I get a motion to approve? Consider to open June 1st?
I'll motion.
Dan motions,
One second.
Tom seconds, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals, any abstentions, hearing none, it passes. Yay, we'll be opening June 1st for the pool.
My only thing I can't guarantee next year's opening June. Next year, we're opening Father's Day weekend. If we can open earlier, we will try to.
Fair enough. Okay, what else do you have for us?
Just a few, to-do items we have going on around here. I have, the weather has not been cooperating a little bit for us. We have a repair that has to be done on the old tennis court. That will be taking place in the next few weeks, so that's on the agenda. We have this, box container still in the front of the office that we're looking to get out of here there as well. The weather hasn't been cooperating for that either, so hopefully we'll get that out in the next few weeks. I do have to have some shredding done. So I didn't know if we wanted to plan like a shred day. Open it for the community. We don't have any, it's gonna cost us the same amount whether they come just to shred our stuff or we do the community, so it's something that I did not look into, but I could look into further. I didn't know if that was something.
Yeah, that would be a good.
Yeah.
Would be-
And it's just something management will run.
Yeah, we'll take care of it, we'll set the date, set the time, the only thing we'll try to do is do it on a Friday or Saturday. Somewhere, in the next few weeks, we'll try to get that set up so it, everybody can get.
That's great. Fantastic.
We'll look into it.
This container belongs to the association or?
It's associated. It's cheaper to buy than rent.
Yes, it.
This one.
And I do not recommend anybody ever storing anything in that, because most of it is room.
Okay, before we talk about the lot, any other management updates?
Nope. The gates are all functioning. I know there's, that was on this month's meeting. The gates are all functioning. We're still waiting on some adjustments that have to be done by the gate company over by the pool, or the dam. Everything's pretty much working, like a lot of you probably came in here today. The gate was open out front, just because we were having company and I didn't want him sitting out at the gate trying to get in. But everything can pretty much be, taken care of, remotely. Somebody's installing their boat. We've been opening. The boat company usually schedules the time they're coming. This way we can also make sure the waivers are signed. Once they sign the waivers, the boat company's usually over at the pool. They call the office puts the gate remotely from here. So that has all been working out pretty well. The other thing I have is the 52J 415 on Surrey Street.
Yeah, so this is the next bullet point on our agenda, folks. And board members, in tab 2 of your board book, with a depiction of the lot, the on tax records. So this is a lot that, well, I'll let you describe.
This is we have a these unique lots that are on two roads. We have a contractor that's put an application, put a home in there. It is going to be a Old Sackett Road address, so the home is going to face Old Sackett Road. But it is going to be more to the front of the Old Sackett Road side of the lot, and they're leaving trees and everything in the back. Normally, you guys, there's, with building permits, there's only one or two of you that get involved in them when we're going through them. This, I felt, because it was a two-sided lot, that it should be something that just point of interest or notification.
So the request for the address change was made by the developer to the town, and the town has already approved it. There's nothing for the board to do. But it was really just to make sure that, I don't know if the board's aware, but that folks who live in that area of the community have some notice of it. I know it was more than likely noticed through the town, or certainly publicly available, but I want to make sure that our community knew about that. So that's what's here. Any questions about it? Okay.
So it will be second or,
Just like the house next door, 337 in that, 377 in that photo, that is a Surrey Street lot. But it is an old Sackett.
Old
Sackett address.
Right. Address, and yes, address, but the home face is Old Sackett. So a few more homes throughout the community that do that as well. So once again, I'm just letting you guys know.
what the town approved, Old Sackett, sorry.
Old Sackett.
Okay, I'm gonna move on and,
Cameras work in the day. Work. Oh,
The cameras, we do have more cameras that are supposed to be installed around here, the light pole. I put the brakes on that for right now. They were mounting a box about the size of my screen on my laptop on the top of the pole, and it was just gonna look like a portion up on top of the pole, so. So this was all started in the last few weeks. They're redoing how they're going to install them on the poles. But for the most part, the cameras are pretty much all up and,
So these add-ons are just exterior camera.
yes.
okay. Thank you, Michael. I wanted to give the community an update on the 90 North Emerald property. Quick background. The Property Owners Association came to be the owner of that property following foreclosure action from a non-payment of dues and some fines and assessments that were owing to us. The property, I'm happy to announce, has been sold. We are no longer the owner of the property. Sales price was $505,000, good price. The mortgage that was existing, the mortgage loan and lien on that property was $288,000. That was not our mortgage, just clear. But because there was a lien on the property to sell it free and clear, we had to pay off that mortgage out of the equity, which is, as again, $288,000. When you take out closing costs, we are left with about $194,000 that the Property Owners Association will realize from the sale. There's about, I believe, between 25 and 30, Marvin's not here, but I can get an exact number from him. $25,000 to $30,000 in legal fees that was associated with the proceedings for foreclosure and the eviction. So I guess if you net that out, it's still around 164,000 in proceeds from the sale that are coming to the community. So any questions on the sale?
Well, there were some issues that we needed to take care of, and I asked in the email, and they say that they needed to be discussed at the closing,
No, inspection.
or from the inspection, so they were taken care of.
We had her Monday, there's a contract finished the last part.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you know what the cost was of that?
All right. So no other questions on that? All right, let's move on to the financial review and ask treasurer to give an update. And then board members at tab 3 of your board books are the monthly financials from April of 2024, and we'll go down this.
All right, so, recap. We currently have $2,477,000 left on our 10-year construction loan that we converted over into a note. So, we're obviously making our payments towards that, continuing to drop down. We have $16,000 on our payables remaining, so that's pretty good if you subtract the D&D construction there. Actual income with dues was 44,924. We were budgeted for 35 or 34, so continuing to get better with our homeowners paying on time. Expense wise, 63,178 on a budget of 84,808. We came in under budget. Year to date, we are under budget by $3,370. Keep in mind that was before our expense for the audit. So once that hits, obviously that's going to change. So, any questions?
Do you have a sense of when we're gonna get final 2023 numbers? Yes, but I missed that.
I believe I sent that out.
Are you're talking about the audited financial?
I think we was just talking about it. Financial.
Michael, this is something I think we can talk session, but just at a top level, ask a question about payroll costs. We've reduced staff, but it seems like our payroll number is still right on budget. I would have expected to see generate some savings off of payroll by this point, given that we've gone down staff. And is there,
Well, staff in some areas and staff is going up, you know.
I'm happy to, it might be easier to talk about this in the executive session. I would have expected us to see some savings in that category, but I'm curious.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, why don't we talk about that in executive session, because I think Ken can dive into individual numbers and positions. Okay, great. Any other questions for Dan on the financials?
Yeah, this is Marcy. I raised my hand a couple times, but I know you probably didn't see it on the screen. Just going back to 90 North Emerald for a moment.
Marcy. We certainly can hear you. We're taking community questions at the end. We're just in the business session of the board right now, so the board members are free to ask questions about the financials. And we'll come back to you, I promise. So keep your hand raised and hang in there. It is our protocol and our practice to wait till the end for community member questions. Any other board member questions on the financials? Okay, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Dan seconds, all in favor? Aye.
I
Any opposed? Earl, there you are.
apologize for being late.
No worries. Earl has joined us.
While we're on the topic of financials,
Wait, hang on a second. Any recusals, any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passed.
Joel, right, I think you wanted to,
That's later in our agenda.
okay,
I know what you're talking about.
got it. Yep.
We'll get to that. Moving on to the water company update. Shanks.
Morning, everybody.
Hello.
We're still moving ahead with the rate case. They have been showering us with questions like never before. I mean, just the specifics that they're getting into. I know Michael's never seen this, to say the least, but,
What does that,
I mean, like with gas rates, they want VIN numbers, things, you know, they just.
I think we had to have to, we just finishing up on it. Supply every invoice the company had, from 2020
on,
up until 2020. They want everything. So we've gone about through 6 reams of paper already. Printing invoices, scanning them, emailing them to them, and it's been a challenge.
Yeah.
We're getting through, it, but it's just very detailed.
It's never been this detailed.
Well, yeah, last time around, it was not, not to be like the invoice.
Yes.
It would spot check. This time it's been really, really hectic. How much, little, our office space, how much office space do we, for the renting to the company? How much office space do we, what's the square footage of office space? How do you figure that out? I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy, but it's all shared. So you have my office, you have Brittany's office, Anthony's office is in the pool. You know, you figure that all out, it's a minimal number, but it's back and forth and it's just questions back and forth all the time. We did, in talking with our representatives, our engineer and our accountant that are in the Public Service Commission, we discussed ways to make it easier in the future, so we're working along with that. Well, we started this, last January, so, it's been going.
Next rate case, you have to incorporate this, the rate case, working on. Part of it.
Yeah. So the best thing to do for us in the future, sorry, is every year to do even if it's a minor rate case. Well, this is a minor rate case, but even, an increase for, a couple $1,000 where you really wouldn't pay attention to in the past, it's probably easier to do it every year. Just because the information is in and you're rolling along. That's what they say.
I don't know that we necessarily do rate cases just to make it easier on the person that's providing the information. I mean, I would say that we would do it because we need to do it. Right?
Well, if
Well-
you have a big chunk of information. Make a mistake or miss something, then if you're doing it step by step sequentially, so that's probably where the recommendation is coming in.
Yeah, it's just that it's much because they're diving into more of, the checks and balances and stuff from 3 years ago, 4 years.
Easier to go through 5 pages than 150.
On both sides. Exactly. On both sides.
And be more detailed and not miss something and not.
But they also wanna make sure that we're being sensible with this and not,
Yeah,
just try to remember.
The Public Service Commission is just what it is, the Public Service Commission. They're there to protect.
Your numbers, this probably should be.
Your numbers are what, 22 numbers that you're doing, or 23? The rate increase that you submitted, because you have to wait a whole year to get your numbers, so it's not.
Well, it's 2022. It's right on up to 23, so they've been having them all. One of the other things is we have an audit. So numbers that I submitted in November may have changed because of our audit. Now, they want, like, the journal entries that have been done, they want those things, so, they'll probably be sending down a senior accountant after we're done, to meet with us and, look at our audit and see if we can use our audit in the future, because it's, certified. So it may make it a lot easier, for us in the future. And, guys, we have growing pains going on during all of this as well, so that's what makes it complex as well. And we had, Bill Reaver was just talking about the sewer repair that was done over here at Section 8, Avon Street in Manchester and all those. That cost us $120,000 through an emergency surcharge. So they're looking at all of that. So we had a lot of stuff that's been baked into this. We are, in the state, we privately owned water companies, we are in the top 5. So we're ones that they keep an eye on and, try to.
The only other thing is just throwing it out there, the two boards haven't gotten together.
Okay. Do we do it in June, or is that not soon enough? Or when's your next meeting?
We haven't said. Probably before the next, meeting here.
I'll be in touch with you, to figure that out, that's a great idea.
How about financial bits?
Update on the tank.
We're looking at financing, I mean, Michael's been a little preoccupied. Yeah, but we're sending out feelers and. We'll check out on the back. Is definitely it.
The tank has been approved for the Department of Health. So that's,
Is there a deadline? Is there a deadline?
the deadline was 5 years before you vote the order. This is something that's been going on, 20 years, 25 years.
If you have the companies online, then you will be your price for this tank. Steel tank.
Yes, but more beneficial for us to go with the steel tank because it is designed if we need to, we probably will, not, hopefully not my tenure, but add on. They could add on the tank, make the tank taller to accommodate more.
Same steel. Steel, same.
Steel.
And also just the engineering company is supposed to.
Oh, alright.
We should have.
Financial stuff. You know what's going on with the work, because they're selling that house, they're selling that little house now, I guess.
Right,
Now it's
it
blue,
used to be
now it's
the
blue,
white,
now it's blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
the one next to the store. Right, remember?
Yeah, so they're selling, are they changing their, you don't know, either. They're changing their plans, I thought they were gonna do some.
Who's they?
Yeah.
Senator discovered.
Never heard that.
Yeah, but the Senator from the cover doesn't own that.
I don't know.
They don't.
No,
Right?
we bought 2 houses, we knocked one down. And
Okay.
We went the wrong way.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our committee report. Just so the community knows, we ask that the chairs, co-chairs of the committee email around their committee reports to board members ahead of time so the board members can ask detailed questions by email and hopefully help streamline our meeting. But we do ask the chairs and co-chairs to give a quick summary of their committee meetings so everybody knows what's going on. So first up is Lakes. Joel?
Okay, so we had a meeting on May 9th. We had about 8 people attend. Topics that we discussed were Treasure Lake, stump removal. Katie said that we're not gonna be doing it this year, hopefully it'll be done next year. And it is concerned about the water level of the lake, but that's gonna take time. As we get more water, that lake will fill up. It's, just take a little time. That's it. We also talked about the CSLAP program where that's gonna be where we'll be taught how to test water. We'll be testing water on Treasure and on Lake Louise. I believe it's gonna be the 28th of the month. The training will be conducted over here. Brad and Marcy Wild are nice enough to lend us their boat for that time if people have to, when we actually do work on the water. Let's see, the fish stocking program will be done once Treasure Lake increases. I'll take care of that. And then we discussed the storage, and we spoke about the storage area, but that's been done, so that's taken care of. And we're gonna schedule another meeting in June. Great, that's it.
All right. Any questions, Joel? Yeah.
Another question, just to add on, so Michael and I are working on the long-term repair plan for Davies Lake. There's stuff that has to be done there, and so we're getting that process moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Doing the dam.
Yes.
When you do the dam, you also do like clean out some of the areas like dredging, like where the island is, because that used to be water, but now it's all dirt over there.
We've only been considering the structural part, that part, so that would have to be. Unless the community comes up with a magic one,
What do you have any idea what you're talking about? As far as,
I'll it's not yet. Get a few guys come for estimates, talked to Ryan the other day, and they won't get back to it. Yeah.
Is there a program with the Lakes Committee or staff with latecomers, boats coming into the lake and invasive species?
There's no checking, no one checking that. Basically, most of the people that are on the lake keep their boats on the lake, you know, so. As far as, you know, having washdowns and things like that, when,
We discussed this years ago.
yeah,
Margaret and Michael and those guys were on staff and trying to get people to go out. I wasn't have the capacity to do it. And we talked about wash stations, using 180-degree seams, washes for the boats. And trying to get people to man that, and then how do you go through a check, make sure people are sticking around.
I don't know if you have that kind of traffic to warrant something like that.
no,
I was
It's
just
an issue.
concerned about the lake.
No, she's right. I mean, we can see from us, we're gonna have a drinking water problem real fast, but. Monitoring the boats, making sure people get their boats cleaned and do that. Implementing that and then including Lake Louise Marine in front. And monitoring what goes in was just very, Michael's gonna. Try to come up with ways to do it, even volunteers who'd be volunteered to go out, but. What authority you have to paddle around or go out in a boat, and say, where's your sticker, you know? So there's been a lot of issues tossing around trying to find a way to do that, and you haven't settled anything that can really work.
then you have to be there when people put their boats on, so you can be there all hours.
That too.
Okay, thanks, Joel. The pool committee, didn't have a meeting, but, there were a number of, pool-related issues that the board discussed at our workshop on, the 7th of May. And, out of that came, a request, one of the things we talked about was, capacity, seating capacity, particularly in the high parts of the summer. And on the weekends, it's difficult sometimes in the middle of the day to find a chair. So, Joel, do you want to introduce this idea?
I'd like to propose that. The board authorizes. Spend approximately $5,000 to go out and buy additional chairs for this season. So that we can get them in there sooner than later. That's the one.
Can you specify the chair you're talking about?
The same
The
existing.
lounge chair?
Yeah, the lounge chairs. Chairs.
And
How many more chairs do we need? We're only talking about one. Chairs.
I think that's-
$5,000. Yeah, they're 300 apiece, you gotta ship them here, you gotta pay tax, you gotta pay, you know, so. If we can get more, we can get more, but I don't think you're gonna.
and we talked about too, bringing this back up again as we work on our annual operating budget later, that we start to build in buying more chairs in the future, because not only are we maybe going to need more capacity, we're gonna have to replace the old ones that are getting ready.
So
I
can you
think-
specify the funding location in the?
Where's the money?
The transfer. Sorry.
I think at the end of the season, it was to do an inventory of chairs to storage. That, so we would have an account, of how many are good chairs. And how many we may need for the next season.
You know,
Our management does that, right? When-
Yeah, if they're broke. We don't have we talked about in the workshop. They haven't cleaned them yet, so, once they are cleaned, we'll get a count, they haven't. Yeah, they're working their way back up. Slab, so.
but we know there's a shortage, because there were 3 board members at the workshop that said, hey, they couldn't find seats, so.
Right.
Yeah, there's a shortage, so we're starting out with 10, if it gets, we've estimated 5,000, we'll see how far that takes us.
We just asked during the workshop, I know I specifically asked for an actual count, so we knew how many we actually needed, and there was no actual count. So that was the reason why this was discussed.
And we would say that. How many are they good when we start the season, when by the end of the season they get put away, then we should know.
For the next year, we'll know that.
Well, we also restrap. We do that in-house, we restrap ones that are broke, so the strap may be broke, but the chair. Joel is more talking about adding
Shortage.
more to the total inventory, it's very rare. The frames on the chairs break. It's mostly the straps that broke, then we take them out of inventory. Repair them during the winter, or, you know, depending on how many are broke during the spring, if we have, or summer, we have time to fix them, if not, they're to save for the winter. But we do restrap.
This actually works out in terms of, now that we've changed the annual meeting structure. And to Leslie's question about inventory, that because we're doing the budget a little bit later. We're doing budget when it was closed or we're closing, and so we'll do the budget, we can just talk to you about. You know, what we need to incorporate into the full maintenance budget to account. for future purposes.
You know, we did, since our last pool to this pool, you know, we increased some, we really didn't increase that, I don't know what the number is off my head, I'm thinking 20 it was, but it really, we never really bought much more, you know,
And you have a lot more chairs at the beach now too, so.
that's also, that's not, we never supplied, you know, did that stuff in the beach area.
Okay, so Joel's made a motion to allocate approximately $5,000 to purchase a Visit 10.
We could get someone, I'd say up to 5.
10 or so, new chairs for the pool. So anybody want a second? Thank you, Alana. All in favor? Any opposed? Any refusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question to go back to North Carolina?
Sure.
Where will this money be put into?
It will be housed in our, I'm not sure what the fund is called, but is it, I mean, just which checking account? Is that what you're asking?
It'll be in your money book.
Which
Yeah.
bucket, which I can't, there.
No, it's going in the general.
Yeah.
And that's where we'll make more money on it, general. Speaking of the investment.
Right.
Yeah, general.
As far as what you're doing with it, is that kind of where you're heading with it? I think that's something we.
Why don't we get the money in first?
Correct.
The money's still in escrow, and should be returned to us by next week, I would assume. Some of the, funds had to be held back while we got a payoff letter from, the mortgage company, which we now have. And so the title company held that escrow, and they'll be paying off the mortgage, and I'll find out from Marvin where that stands. But whatever's left over in there, which I think is 35 to 40K, will then come back. Marvin will take possession of that along with the other amount that he's holding from the transaction and get that to us. So,
Maybe that workshop that we had, we should discuss that, what we want to do.
sure,
You know, that would be it.
sure, we need to do that. Okay.
Where it's needed the most, have some extra funds out.
Well, most of the time it's used to pay down debt, so.
All right, bylaws committee, there was no meeting. Bylaws committee, did not have a meeting this month. Earl is Zoom. If you want to give a quick
I'm here.
recap.
Yeah, there's only a few things. I think one was mentioned when Joel talked about the concerns for Treasure Lake being low. And so I think I called that out in bullet 2. I think there was a few persons on the last meeting from last month, because our meeting for this month is until Tuesday, just around the rules and the process, and how frequent that lake is drained, and wanting to get some type of formal response from the management office. But I think one of the recommendations that did come up, which I can appreciate, was a request that the board approved and/or management office just send out a notice of what materials, what chemicals can be used with people's lawns, and/or a list of chemicals and/or fertilizers that the DEC don't recommend that folks use on their yards during the landscaping and as people start to refresh their outdoors. I think it was a fair ask. I did some digging with the DEC. I owed Mike that list, and the request was that the management office would just send that out as just a cursory request. Hey, just so you all know, these are some of the chemicals or pesticides that we would recommend you don't use as part of the landscape and upkeep of your yards. Other than that, that was it.
Thanks, Earl. Board member questions for Earl? Okay. For the Strategic Planning and Finance Committee, we did not have a meeting, but I wanted to circle back to something that we did several months ago, and the board approved, the committee's action, which is the adaptive reuse of the golf course, the old golf course property, which is now being called the Emerald Greenway, with the purpose of being sort of a preserved land where people will have some walking trails, and maybe some, exercise stations or stuff, things like that. Those ideas are yet to be worked out. But the concept of the Emerald Greenway is approved, and along with that, with Dan Woodruff's help, thank you, Dan. We came up with a couple of logos, just to kind of get people excited about the idea. But this just happens to coincide with the electronic voting system that we're going to be rolling out for our annual election this fall. So one of the things that we talked about doing was a test vote. Really just a meaningless sort of thing. No disrespect to Dan's drawing, but the whole point is that there's no real consequence to the test vote. So we've decided that we're going to run the test vote with these logo ideas. And we'll be getting an announcement out shortly, but we're going to have to do a lot of sort of retail advertising to folks on this, because we want to drive participation in the electronic voting process, because we really want to see where any of the kinks may be. We want to work out the bugs before we get to the annual meeting around Labor Day. So, because we are going to be using the electronic system, and that's predominantly how the election is going to run. So Brittany will be sending out a notice this coming week. I'm helping her to work on it. I don't know that it will look like it's coming from her, or whether it will be coming from an entity called Vote HOA Now, which is our third-party electronic voting vendor. So again, we'll continue to try to advertise this and make folks aware of it and get everybody sort of used to how this is going to work. But I wanted to let everybody know that that's going to be kicking off very shortly, and it should be pretty exciting. We'll get to see how the system runs. Okay, questions on that? Okay.
The electronic voting that will be implemented will be up.
Well, it will be the primary means by which people will vote. This meant that we're not going to be mailing out paper ballots anymore. If somebody wants a paper ballot, they can request it, come to the office and get it, and can cast their vote for the sort of the usual course. We're not going to be mailing anything. That's the whole point.
On this request.
Unless they, yeah, and I don't even know that we'll mail it to them versus having it available to pick up in the office. But those rules we can kind of work out a little bit.
Okay.
Or email, but again, that's the whole point is the electronic system. We want to really get people used to that and try to get them to opt for that first.
But I could always get the paper ballot to make my paper ballot.
Yeah.
I don't trust elections.
Well, I do, and I trust the system that we are paying a lot of money to run this. So I'll make sure that everybody understands it is a very safe, it's a very usual process for organizations like ours to use electronic voting. And it will be a good thing. All right, events and welcoming, Chris, or you wanna?
We didn't have a formal meeting, but the calendar went out for the spring, summer events. Alan just gave me a notice before the meeting that the Rock Hill Music Series might not be going on for that. There will be a potential effort in the calendar, but we have more to come. We still have a few events that are not listed, that are mainly music events that are attached to July 4th. Those will be posted separately. We just wanted what was fleshed out to go out to everybody so they can plan accordingly. Next Sunday will be the s'mores event. There will be no sign up required for that. We are just holding that event from 7 to 9. Anything that does require a sign up will be sent out separately. And any questions or concerns that you have with the current calendar, just send to the office. And then just a heads up, the Wednesday strength and conditioning class, the last date for that is going to be the Wednesday, the 29th at the end of the month. And then that will be taken over by the water aerobics class on Wednesdays. That now that we know the pool is open, we'll probably start around mid-June.
Okay, questions for Alana?
I can tell you, I saw the calendar. Alana, you crushed it, you and your crew. Thank you. It looks great. I actually printed it up. So looks good.
Thank you.
Yeah, special thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Our next regular meeting is gonna be June 23rd, 2024. So now we'll open it up to community member questions, then first in the room.
Thank you, Bruce Jeremy, Douglas Street. Number one, there was something online about kids opening up 1 or 2 boats at the dam dock. Was Allentown working back then?
I don't know that management's had an opportunity to look into it yet. I understand it reported over the weekend, but I don't know that management's even aware of it.
No, I'm not.
It's online, that they showed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it is, to be clear, again, something was posted on this secondary Emerald Green Owners Group, which is not, has nothing to do with the management, has nothing to do with our board. That's just a group of community members. So if you put something on there, there is absolutely no guarantee that anyone's gonna be able to see it. I happened to see it as well, so I understand what you're talking about, but can't assume that everybody does. And it is, if it's put there, it's just not reported. So, but I understand from a comment that was left there that something was reported to Brittany. Brittany's not here with us today, so I'm sure she's not had an opportunity to check her work voicemail over the weekend. But we'll deal with it.
Can you specify what you're saying?
Well, it was dark, and then supposedly the boat owner on the other side of she saw all these kids taking off the cover and going on it, and then they think they did the 2 monster boats. The end of the dock.
So when the sheriff's department.
They didn't-
That's a loaded question.
We don't like, yeah, we call them.
I spoke to one of the owners and he said he went over there, he spoke to the kids, they asked to see their ID, they were basically all living in Emerald Green, there was no damage done. It's happened before over the summer, I think it's very brazen for these kids to pull covers off and go fishing off of someone's boat, but you know, they spoke to them, they apologized, and hopefully it won't happen again.
Oh, so it was solved.
Hopefully.
Oh, did anybody post it on Facebook?
I just
So they're
spoke to-
aware?
I just spoke to him, but that's like, so, yeah.
Luke, yeah.
Sure.
The events committee, I was at a, let's call it a festival over in Livingston Manor last weekend, 2 weeks ago. And it's a couple from Green County who at a, for a nominal charge will take a group of people around the community or one little area right next to the brewery. And they showed the different plants and trees and how they interact. They named everything. They're naturalists. They all have, I think, doctorate degrees. There's a plant here called Japanese, they call it Japanese knockwurst. You know,
Yeah.
Evil.
they actually eat it and they show how they get rid of it. They eat it, they tea out of it, this and that, they get samples of different things. They're willing to come here. But I'll give you the.
Can you give me the number and I'll follow up? with them?
Yeah. How much they want, but-
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Just
thank
give
you.
me the stuff.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm still glad that
What question?
yes, we'll go to the online section. I was just gonna point out, Arthur Kaplan was here. We've lost him. I thought he was here for a specific reason, but.
He just got
Good job.
here yesterday.
All right. So for folks online, if you want to ask a question, use the raise hand feature, which you can see an example of. Marcy has raised her hand. Marcy, I'll call on you first. Go ahead.
Thank you. So a couple questions because they've been accumulating. One, I'm glad that it was found who was on that boat. I ran a system like that, believe it or not, because I'm a techno idiot at the Chapin Estate. And I have repeatedly reported to the office that that dam gate is left open. Now it's cleverly left just very slightly ajar so it doesn't look like it. And I'm saying when I go to physical therapy in the morning, it's open, I close it, and then when I come back an hour and a half later, it's open. So somebody is repeatedly doing that, and I do know that the system can detect which card is being used, and I suggest that that be addressed because, vandalism happens, and if the gate is not closed and somebody's deliberately and repeatedly leaving it open, that just, makes it a greater, perpetuates it.
So let me know that management and our security infrastructure contractor, East Tech, have been working on that gate. There's an issue with how the magnets and the latches work. That's something that they continue to work on. I thought it was fixed in the last couple of weeks or.
That's what I just said in my report. It's one week that we're still working
That's the
on.
one. Okay.
That's the one.
Okay,
Right, no, I understand that, but when I close it, it clicks close and stays closed. And so it is constantly being reopened and left to just appear closed now. So
Then
I'm
we
glad
have
we're
mine.
working on.
Please be good neighbors and lock the door behind you, lock the gates behind you.
Well, but I think somebody is deliberately and repeatedly doing that intentionally. So it's easy enough to check which card is opening and to address it with that, that individual.
Okay,
So
other
that's
questions?
one. So next, is there a plan to fill Chet's position?
I would say, some of this falls under our personnel guidelines. I'm not sure we can talk specifically about it, but from a financial, perspective, we're seeing if we have maybe 20 hours or so, we could do something part-time, but that's a management decision, and, I know that they're still considering what they want to do. Not to speak for me. But then just
Yeah,
speaking.
Okay, I mean, so it goes to 2 points. One is, if there are funds that were allocated already for that, then where will they go? And of course, the other is just maintaining, because I see a whole lot of things, and I don't want to be the community, tattletailer, but a whole lot of things going on in the community that I believe, that whoever's in that position would have picked up on. So I just want to put it there. Next one is has the cost of maintenance and repairs on the 90 Emerald residents been factored into? And is that the profit that you mentioned? Does that take it into account and have those been subtracted? Yeah.
Yes, the maintenance is very minimal, as were any repairs that needed to be done. Most of them were taken care of by our own staff. We didn't have to go outside to do it. So, yes, that's been factored in.
Oh, great. Okay. And last question, just what is the status? Because I hear a lot of people talking about this. I believe it's 241 Rock Hill Drive, the red house. Does Emerald Green own that house? Has it been sold? Where is that?
That's the water.
The water company. Not our work.
The water
Yeah.
company owns it, and who is living in it?
One of our operators.
One of our officers?
Operators.
And
If that's what you're getting at.
so they pay rent?
It's
Do
part
we
of the.
get income from that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't answer that anyway. We're not gonna get into anybody's comp package or. Marcy.
Sorry.
And I was just wondering if Emerald Green gets income from that. It wasn't
Emerald Green does not own that property.
And just for clarification.
the water company.
PSC oversees that as well.
Okay,
Can
I have a question.
Wait, Brad has a question.
Is it true that the gate to the compost area is open on Saturdays now? Without having to obtain a key?
It was open this Saturday, yes.
Will it continue, Michael?
I was here all day Saturday working, so, probably won't be every.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thanks.
So we originally talked about having a key with the security if somebody needed access over the weekend. But as far as your compliance issues, Marcy, if you feel that somebody's, property is out of compliance and you don't want to be the compliance police, we have a manager. So feel free to reach out to the office and let somebody know that they might be out of compliance. And they will certainly follow up with that. So if you're worried about what the payroll might look like, we still have somebody on the payroll addressing that.
All right, thank you.
okay. Richard Rubin? Richard?
Okay, I have a question regarding Treasure Lake. And I know you glossed over it very quickly, but the status of Treasure Lake is actually a disaster right now. My understanding that you lowered the lake lower than normal this year because someone was going to attempt to pull out the stumps, which obviously didn't happen. And, you left us with no lake.
Want me to?
Sure, go ahead.
Hey, Reg, how are you? Welcome back.
Thanks, Michael. How's your family?
Everybody's well, thank you. Treasure Lake, was drained for, our biannual drawdown for the vegetation. There was work going on to, from some homeowners trying to get, stumps removed. They did put, the proper permitting in and it was held off. So the lake, the lake wasn't drawn down any lower than it normally is. The lake, was just closed later than it normally is. So it's coming back a little slow, but it is coming.
Well, okay, Michael, you know, I have a lot of faith in you, but the truth of the matter is, I think it was drawn down too low. And apparently you guys didn't have a lot of snow this winter, so that obviously affects the refill. But right now, we no longer have lakefront property. Looks like hell.
Okay. Nothing I can do about it now, Rich. And then I know that's not an answer you want to hear, but
It is getting hot.
it is coming up. The springs are doing what they're doing. We have been getting a little rain, so that helps out. Snow was, we didn't have as much snow this year, so that didn't help anything either, so.
Just so I understand, was the lake lowered more or less or the same?
No, longer, not lower, longer. We normally close that in the beginning, the first to second week of March is usually when we close that. We did not do it because there was anticipation that this work was going to be done this year. So it is closed now, it is coming back, it has been closed.
So we didn't allow it to refill earlier.
Right, more or less, it wasn't closed when it normal.
Okay, so that's gotcha.
Okay,
Not any height, there was no height.
Doesn't make sense, it's.
yes, okay,
Yes.
it's physical hand, okay. Mike, go ahead.
Mute, you're on mute, you're on mute, you're on mute.
You gotta unmute, you don't need it.
Okay, I'm on mute. So I want to make a suggestion that if you have a chance to attend the meeting this Wednesday night of the Town of Thompson Planning Board, on the agenda is the conceptual review of a Treasure Lake townhouse development by the Ronstein Group, which is 60 homes adjacent to Treasure Lake. And there's material in the back of their agenda, which is worth reading and worth attending that meeting, because I think that that's a horrible situation in terms of having Ronstein develop 60 townhouses a couple of feet away from Treasure Lake. So that's my comment.
Thanks, Mike. The details for that, again, you said Wednesday night, 7 PM?
Yes.
Okay. And folks can find the Zoom link on the Town of Thompson's website.
TownofThompson.com.
Okay. Seeing no other hands up, oh, yeah. Lou.
One per meeting.
Yeah.
Ronstein tried this many years ago with the 60 town. They do. He wanted 60, I think he settled for 30. But there really wasn't any room, and I went up to the meeting. And I found, well, someone told me about, and there it was, there's an old cemetery. So we did a historical research. And evidently it was a homestead. There's two foundations, open areas with a house. There's evidently stone mounds placed in the same order, same size.
Interesting.
And he obviously never built.
Was that brought to the planning board?
Sorry?
Was that brought to the planning board?
Oh, yeah.
No. Turn.
Nobody on the planning board knew there was a cemetery.
You should bring it up again.
Just,
Yeah. What it was, never registered in New York State. Which means that the new landowner. No, that's true. Number two, if there's any plans on working on a golf course, make it greenway, I'm willing, I will time, help, blaze out a trail.
Thank you.
Look at the map, because I did this years ago around this, here,
Yeah, I
volunteers, we blazed it.
really appreciate that. That's sort of the idea, is that this will be it'll be a low maintenance, and pretty low capital cost. Yeah, effectively no maintenance, but a pretty low capital outlay too to get us there. We, would hope that maybe we could find some funds to hire a landscape architect who could help us professionally sort of lay it out and identify things like, native, plant species that need to be protected and that sort of stuff. So that we do it right, but then the execution of it, the idea was that it would be done with really member sweat equity, so that's awesome, thank you for volunteering.
I'm sorry, can we just,
Lisa, come.
that developer thing at Treasure Lake. I have to recuse myself for that, so I don't have much say in that. But, it's important, like Michael said, it's in the discussion phases. Would help that more people show up. It's not during the public comment stages. You're not gonna be able to say anything. But as the board, we do take notice on the attendance that is at the Zoom meeting and stuff. So it is important to attend and see what's going on with.
Lisa Coney, I see you have your hand up, so I'll just call on you. I was about to get to the chat, and start with your question, but go
Okay,
ahead.
that's what I was just gonna say. There's a lot of questions in the chat. Could you go through them?
Yeah, so
Okay.
starting with your first one, which is whether there'll be additional lighting to Old Sackett Road as the number of homes with Old Sackett increase. I don't know the answer, but we just had Supervisor Reber here and was talking about lights, not specific to any stretch of any road, but I would encourage you, I guess, to visit with the town about that and see what they have to say, correct? Okay. Is a new aesthetics person being hired? We addressed that, aesthetics committee being formed. In terms of the committee question, we have a strategic planning and finance committee, and one of the things that we're gonna tackle, swear we're gonna tackle in 2024, we just have to get some time, is to freshen up the building code, which hasn't been looked at since 2006, going on nearly 20 years. So I'm gonna help lead that effort with hopefully one or two other board members, but I really want to get folks from the community to volunteer who are architects, specifically if you have landscape architectural experience, that would be fantastic. Because we want to just update that and make sure that the rules are fresh and clear for 2024.
I think that Lisa, just to, like, we don't have homeowners involved in addressing the violations issues. We have, that's first line addressed by staff, and then we have a process set up for the board to handle anything that goes beyond.
I know in years prior that we had. That's kind of probably what she's alluding to.
Yeah, we don't have one, and I don't see us doing that. I think we'll be able to handle it at staff level. But again, I think Dan made a good point earlier too about, look, folks, if you see something, report it to the office. If you see something that you think is in violation, feel free to let Brittany or Michael know.
Listen, Chet is not here, but we are still doing violations. Dan, I thought you were going to speak to some of the stuff that you had brought up that, I ride the community every morning. Anthony rides the community every morning. We are sending out violation notices. There hasn't really been much different, without Chet. The difference are the phone calls. Chet used to, do phone calls and chase after people before he sent the notices, just as a common courtesy. That part of it, we haven't been able to do yet. But 9 times out of 10, I don't know them all, but we know where the violations. Most of the violations that Chet take care of, he was told about from me. So
And I can clarify, there are things that people bring up, whoever they might bring them to. And if you bring them to a board member or whatever, we follow up on those. And Michael, jumped on one that was brought to our attention, so.
Well, please try not to bring the board members. That is.
Yeah, that's.
I would encourage you. I would encourage you to please go directly to the management office with that, handling things like that. We'll do it, but, it's really not what we're here to do, so.
Easier for them.
Yeah, it'd be much easier if we went to the office and frankly, it would just get handled much more quickly. Okay, flying through the questions, audio choppy, Treasure Lake. Nick talked about the Wednesday meeting. Norman Gold, does Michael know what is being built next to the pool tennis court? There doesn't seem to be a permit up. The house, and that is permitted. They're just perhaps not displaying their permit.
No, they're not displaying their permit.
Okay, so you'll have a word with them and that'll be taken care of.
With myself and the town were, Friday, both there, speaking to the gentleman on what he has to do.
Okay, Marcy, Brad, a couple other comments. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So one last opportunity for folks online, if you want to raise your hand. All right, if not, thank you all for joining us. We're gonna go, we'll make a motion. Let me try again. I'll take a motion to, wait, hang on, a motion to go into executive session. We have a few things to talk about. I'll second. Great, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any recused, any abstentions, hearing none, the motion passes. All right, thanks, folks. We're gonna stick around for our executive session, but we'll see you next month.